Okay, hello, hello, hello. Greetings, Port City Uncensored. We're in the house here. Let me pull up a few people here. Okay, I've got producer Scotty in the studio with me.
Hello.
And joining us this evening is a fellow a lot of you may recognize, and he's a longtime successful businessman here in the area, also a dedicated family man, and he rides a Harley, too. So, and he's running for Congress in the 9th District here. And it's Mr. Jim Shoemaker. Jim, how you doing tonight?
All right, doing great, Jay, man. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, well, hey, thanks for joining us. And we have Bill Smith on board here. Let me pull him up. All right, one of our regular guys. And so, you guys still out there in Manteca?
We are. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. How did the event go today?
We're still on it. It's still going on.
It's still going on. All right. I don't know if you're pressed for time, um, but I would like to maybe at least get a couple of questions. We got some questions based on your website there. And so how about we start off with, something that's near and dear to our hearts here in Stockton. Of course, now I want to let everybody know the Congressional District includes all of Stockton, Lodi, parts of Manteca, Tracy, Escalon, and Ripon, I believe, if I'm correct.
Almost all of San Joaquin County, except for the little bit of Lathrop.
Okay. Well, and a good part of the Delta Waterways also.
Yes. Yeah.
Hey, J Man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and bow out and let Jim take over.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Let me him up there. Okay. Now on your website there on public safety, and you emphasize the need to prioritize law-abiding citizens over criminals, and that's something that's near and dear to my heart. Can you specify which current policies you believe should be repealed, and how do you plan to advocate for stricter penalties for violent criminals while also ensuring law enforcement personnel have the support that they need?
You know, what we're looking at is over the last number of years under the previous administration and others, we were running into a problem on they seemed to want to coddle the criminal more than they wanted to take care of the victim. And you know, when we're looking at our families and our wives and our children, and the hard work that both the husband and wife are putting in to raise them, to be put into a second class citizenship is just disgusting. And at the same time, what we're looking at right now is the biggest changes I see is we need to return back to what we were doing before, and that was prosecuting a criminal that is doing a crime that is hurting the people. And in that, he needs to be accountable for the entire time. At the same time, we need to take care of the victims. The victims need to know that they're going to get justice, because so many businesses, you know what's been happening throughout California. People are stealing, robbing, breaking business, and this is hurting mom and pop, who've put everything they had into their livelihoods to start these businesses and then to be treated. So I see that we need to return to the fact that we have prosecutions of these people, and then we need to follow up with helping the victims instead of going down this path of just looking at criminals and releasing them. That's not the answer. There has to be crime and if you're going to do the crime, you got to have the punishment. And so what I see is going back over many of the laws, like when we, look at the vast majority of California voted, for what was it, Prop 36, where we had to reverse the rules of what the legislature put in a few years ago, where they made it, 900 or less, they're not going to bother with. That's the type of stuff that we need to make changes on. At the federal level, we need to start looking at the fact of, the federal crimes and the ones that are causing those problems through a lot of the cartels and other criminal gangs that are out there that are affecting our citizens. We need to start cracking down on that. So I hope.
Right, and now in reference to that, also you mentioned on immigration policy the importance of strong border security. What kind of reforms would you envision for the immigration system and reconciling the need for security with, the country's tradition as a land of opportunity?
Well, this is the other thing. Really what I look at is, we need to have a guest workers program like we used to have, where when we had the labor and workers coming in, they were under, regulations. They couldn't, stay here, have children and other things. They needed to go through a system, but we should have a guest workers program. And then two, I think in our immigration system, we need to get to a point of neutral, where now we can establish a system where we have accountability. Meaning,
Hmm.
if you get into the system, but you need a sponsor. Now, the key behind this sponsorship is that this person is responsible for you at least for a minimum of 10 years. You can't go on food stamps. You can't go on Medicaid. You can't go on any government assistance whatsoever.
Hmm.
Okay, so that the citizens of this country aren't being milked for every little thing that, because these people want to come in. I'm not against immigration. I want legal immigration,
Hmm.
but we need to understand you can't take everybody in the world and then have them not assimilate to our culture here.
Right.
We need to start reestablishing the American culture. And no matter how anybody wants to break it down, nobody in the last 100 years gave us what we have today. It was our founding fathers going back more than 100 years that sacrificed, came across the continent, built something with no assistance whatsoever. We are living the benefits of what our previous generations did to give us the luxuries we have. And for us just to trade those away so meagerly to others is a problem. We need people to be proud of their country, this country, the greatest country in the world. And we need our children to be proud to be Americans again. And we need people that come here that go, I want to be an American. I
Hmm.
don't want to be Japanese. I don't want to be Chinese. I don't want to be Italian. I don't want to be African. I don't want to be Mexican. I want to be American. That is what we really need. And we are so blessed to be able to have that diversity here, yet under the auspices of being an American. And that's what I really want to get back to. I want to get to that.
Right. It sounds good. Also, part of the American culture has always been the family structure
Yeah.
and families, and I think that's kind of taken a hit over the last few decades too. And so regarding that families, a lot of families are struggling here in California. I just had a conversation with someone today, in fact,
Yeah.
regarding a lot of folks in Stockton here that are living paycheck to paycheck and trying to make ends meet. You mentioned the financial struggles of California families. What specific types of tax relief do you propose, and how do you plan to address the challenges posed by federal anti-business regulations that you believe hinder small businesses and family businesses?
I see one thing. I'm going to tell you, I will fight for the idea of removal of income tax. I think people's money that they earn is theirs, and the government should not be touching it. I don't have a problem with a flat tax program, mainly because then you make the decision of what you purchase, what you buy, and what you get. But at the same time, I think under the current administration, under the Trump administration right now, the relief that we're going to start to see in the energy sector is going to start trickling down into everyday society, even though we're in California. And fortunately, we are so heavily regulated, so heavily controlled. And the idea that our governor and legislature and honestly, the whole Democratic Party is trying to put the oil industry out of business. The only way we can get affordability, or the only way we can get to that point of where we have relief, for the average family in this state is we need to get our energy under control so it's more affordable. And that only happens if we start building power plants again instead of shutting them down. We start drilling for oil. We have more oil in this state than in most other countries combined. And we have such an opportunity to get that under control, and it's still being clean. And right now, the governor is looking at, we're looking at two other refineries shutting down in this state. We have no pipelines coming in from Texas, Oklahoma, or anywhere in the Midwest to bring in oil to us. So what we're looking at right now is the governor has these has oil, ships coming in that are polluting a lot more and bringing refined oil from countries we're not even friendly with, which is going to that does affect the price of oil for us here in California. On the federal level, opening up that drill baby drill that President Trump's talked about will have a greater effect to get our gas prices down, our food prices down, and our energy prices down, because we need to have energy to be successful. I think that's going to be the biggest thing that'll help families, because just like our farmers here, suffering up and down the Central Valley right now, that they've been deprived of their water allotments to grow the crops. Then they've been affected because of the previous administration bringing in, like in the wine industry, dumping, 40 million gallons of wine into the economy to devastate our California wine industry, our almond industry, our walnut industry, even down to our cherries are being affected. And this is all caused because of the federal government's program on trade. And this is not on Trump. This has been going on for over 3 years from the Biden administration. And I believe our president right now is trying to correct a lot of but it takes time for that to impact us here. So to help the families, we need to get rid of the government regulations that are affecting that cost and driving it up.
Well, the government overregulation.
Yeah.
It certainly is a good way to put it. I know in California here, they just seem to really regulate the hell out of everything and then try and squeeze every nickel in taxes that they can. And still, we've got, well, you just listed a whole lot of ailments that the state's going through right now and everything. Our producer, Scotty, has a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Hello there. So, all I'm hearing are wonderful and effective ideas. I believe the policy that I think I could best use to describe this is the America First policy, and I wholeheartedly believe in that. Like, think 80s America, Ronald Reagan, a screeching bald eagle, like Arnold and all those action movies like that. Bring that back, that spirit of America. So, my question, it's actually a good point of bringing that up. Okay, so if I've done my research right, I believe that for my generation, I'm Gen Z, right? Speaking as a younger guy, I believe that Trump won the election. A big reason partly is because a lot of men I'm not gonna beat around the bush. Were hard-leaning conservative. They pretty much voted for Trump. So the average Gen Z guy heard what Trump said and thought, you know what? This guy has a lot of good policies. And then you compare that to what Kamala Harris was saying, and I'm like, how does that benefit me, the average American guy? It's like it just makes perfect sense that it doesn't benefit them. That's my point. So my question is, how do you plan on reaching the youth or the Gen Z, I guess you could say, because pretty much guys like me, right? So what I'm envisioning is that the same reason Trump won could be also the same reason you have a high chance of winning, is mainly acquiring the male vote, which is mainly making, I would suggest policies, or what's the word? In your campaign, make promises and things that promise to help benefit the average young American working guy, right? So picture this. You're a young American dude, you're in your 20s, And right now, like, it's 2025, yay, that's cool, Trump won, but can you afford a house? Well, not in this economy. Can you
No.
afford a decent car that's not a debt trap? I don't know, man. That's also hard. How about a job that's well paying that won't be sold overseas to, some the HP1 visa? I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a lot of uncertainty for the young men of America, and I bring up the young men more mainly is because I think we all know that men are pretty much the backbone of society. Like all the jobs, like the sewer, the garbage, the fighting the wars, all of the stuff that is not glamorous is pretty much what they're doing. And that's pretty much who your voter base is. I mean, that's a majority of Trump's. I mean, it's I'll picture it. I'll put it like this. When I look at McDonald's, I saw Trump. When I look at the garbage, I saw Trump on ad. When I look at a video game streamer, I saw him there too. And I'm like, oh my God, how is he there? And it's more like Trump made all the attempts to reach out to the youth, and that increased his success because it's like I think he was on Joe Rogan's podcast. Kamala did not show up. Trump was on it.
Yeah.
You see my point there is that Trump willingly put himself into my generation's perspective, not where it's microscope. Like he was in our view. He's like, well, I'm not new. I don't know what streaming is. I'm new to all this Gen Z stuff, all this technology. I'm willing to bet that his son Barron gave him the idea. And what'd you know? Well, it worked out, didn't it?
Yeah, told him you got to go on Joe Rogan's show and
you got to go on all these shows.
Theo Vaughn, and which he did.
And you know what all of these men have in common is that a majority they reach out to young guys like me. I'll use the word disenfranchised because if you're a young guy in your 20s in 1980s America versus 2025 America, I think the answer is obvious. Who feels more patriotic and who feels more lost or like, oh man, I mean, I'm in America, but it's like there's not a lot of hope, I guess I could say. Mm-hmm. And I'm guessing, how do you plan to reach them? That's my question.
Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you something. My son, left California. Him and his wife, they live in Nevada. My daughter, it's in your age bracket, and her husband live in Southern California, and they got great jobs. I mean, they're making great money, and they can't afford a house. My son, same thing. He's a teacher. His wife works at the county. And they just had their first little granddaughter, and I'm sitting there and I look at that and I see what's transpired, and it's like going,
Oh,
wow, life
surprise,
sunshine.
And so what happened is I hear what you're saying. I go, the challenge that we're dealing with today is because we have neglected men in this country, and they've been trying to feminize the men for 50 years. And because of that, we've lost sight of what it is, especially for you, and the confusion and all the other things that are happening.
Oh yeah.
On what the responsibility of being a man is, and they use masculinity, and they try to say, that's
toxic
a bad
masculinity.
thing.
Yeah, you're right. Toxic
and
masculinity.
It's not. Masculinity is what we protect our wives, our daughters, our girlfriends, our children, our families.
It's what got
Our
us
country.
here.
It's taking responsibility. It's showing that this is what we are inside. It's not being anti-woman. It's not being any of those, negatives that the left and the Democratic Party try to push. But at the same time, like you said, what are we going to do? The only answer I have is we need to get government out of it. I've been in construction. I built houses. I've done all these things. And what frustrates me more than anything over a number of years, more than 50, but you have locals, county, and state government putting more regulations, permitting, licensing, all this other stuff on a home. So for you to build an affordable home, that's impossible. You're going to deal with anywhere between $70,000 and upwards of $200,000 in permits and fees to build a home. That means right away you can't build an affordable home. I could build you between 1,000 and 2,000 square foot home if I had none of that to deal with, I could stay within about between 150 and $200,000. I could build a home. Okay. And if I sold it at 300, I would make a profit. Everybody would make good money and all that. But today, that same home, they're having to sell for $600,000 because of the permitting, the regulations, all the nonsense that they've added on. We do not have private property rights anymore.
I like to add something onto that. You're exactly right. We were just talking, what was the word? Red tape or bureaucracy, government overreach.
Yeah.
So it's more like this can be so easy, but you make it so difficult that people don't want to do it. So
Well,
then
Right.
people wonder why it doesn't happen. Oh, gee, could it be because there's so many permits and hoops to jump around, and people are like, I might as well just
Discouraging.
move. Yeah, it's discouraging.
It is,
Yeah.
and I want to let you know because that happened to me. I was trying to build a home, and it's still not built because they took so much time. The financing, I lost financing on it 4 times while they were trying to go through the process. And I was like, I would have built this thing in about 7 months, and but it was ahead. It's just the land's just sitting there, so it's doing nothing. And this is the thing. How do we make young people look at? When I was young, I worked at a hardware store. Minimum wage. I bought my first car. I would go on dates. I did all those things. Okay, I got my first real job. I'm going to call it. Well, I mean, I worked at a hardware store. I guess that was a real job. I started with a moving company and became a teamster. I was literally went from $2.10 an hour, I think it was, to $6.90 an hour as a helper. And what got me, I grew up in Southern California, and I started looking at what I was making, and I was putting in 12, 14, 16 hours a day, making lots of overtime, and the government was taking all my overtime. That's when I learned I needed to become my own business, because the tax structure is in such a way we need to be creative. Well, we don't teach that in school. We teach indoctrination in
Oh, I
school.
have something to add on to that. Oh, it's a good point you bring up, indoctrination, because guess who you're talking to? A guy who spent the last 20 years of his life living in schools that were doing indoctrination. It's only now that I've mentally matured that I can be like, hey, wait a second, that didn't make no sense. A case example I want to bring up is that so I won't say what school I went to, but I'll put it like this. I'm in algebra class, and guess what? They're not teaching me algebra. They're playing live protest on TV or on the screen. And he's like, hey, guys, look at this. Look at this protest. Isn't this like, yeah, go social justice? And I'm sitting there like, oh, fuck, I better. It's enemy lines or some shit, because I got to pass this class to graduate high school, right?
Yeah.
So it's knowing that this is fucked up on so many levels, but I can't say anything because, like, I need to pass the class. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And that's why it hit me. I was like, am I a liberal school? And I asked one of the teachers, she's like, yes. And I'm like, fuck, that explains it. But what I'm thinking is that when you talk about indoctrination, I'm talking about, okay, so I'm social engineering. What that word means is pretty much like indoctrination, but social engineering is more like over time, passively, we don't want you to. Okay, so if we want you to believe something that's bad, like America sucks ass, like in colleges they say, okay, this is a good one, right? So I've been to a few colleges, and guess what? Whenever they're protesting about Trump, it's always anti-Trump this, anti-Trump that. But I'm thinking, the man's making decisions that benefit America's best interest, right?
Yeah.
Now, I'll put it like this: is that I believe that's in politics. When you're the common average man, like say coming from my background, it was only obvious that you're gonna choose more like the Republican side. But I believe people should be like, hey, don't fall for either of them, right? It's like Star Wars, the Sith and the Jedi. They're both kind of sucky, but you have to choose the right option. That's what Trump was. So that's why I'm saying, as a young guy, that's why he won. But let's say moving on past him, right? Because he's not going to live forever.
Well, he's only got one term anyway.
So this is why I bring this question is that, okay, so male role models. In my generation, we don't have a lot of male role models, or I can't think of any. So that's why video gaming is popular for males. If you remember anything from this conversation, remember this, sir. This is a great way to win over male voters, because I've talked to plenty of them. I've watched tons of streams. guys like video games. Why do
Oh,
young
yeah.
guys like video games? Could it be because dating's hard to find a job, whatever it is? The average guy would rather play video games than go through his third divorce and lose all his shit and all that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So mainly they play games, but guess what? When you inject politics into games, see, I'm going with this. They're like, well, I don't really like this. So
Yeah.
video games was infected with politics 2016 when Trump was running. I remember this because I noticed that from the last 10 years, video games have become more political, you guys don't know, you already know where I'm going with this, like DEI inclusive
Yeah.
shit like
Oh,
that.
yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right.
And it's like, where is the patriotic American guy that's kicking ass? He doesn't have to always be a white guy. He just has to be patriotic and American. Like Call of
Exactly.
Duty, for example.
Exactly. 100%.
You know why kids like Call of Duty? Because it's like, America, fuck yeah. And
Yeah.
people can envision themselves in this soldier whose face, like, you don't see what he looks like. It's why any kid that doesn't have to look like me, but it's like, hey, we like America. We're all under one banner, and they're all kicking ass, like Battlefield, Call of Duty. These are all war and military games that are popular with young males. Why? Because it's like, wow, I'm a young guy. We don't have a lot of community. It's like, what culture do we have? It's like I'm told I'm toxically masculine because it's like I want to. I don't. When a woman says be a real man, I don't take that seriously because I'm like, what?
Because you got to find
Yeah.
out what she means by that.
Yeah,
So it's like, what do you mean
exactly.
by a real man? So when I envision that is patriotic, right? So you mentioned these values. When I envision a man, a real man, it's like a guy who protects his family, right? He
Yeah.
cares about his family, but pretty much that's just it. He cares about the family, and I believe Jack was talking about the family structure. I think it's called the nuclear family. That's
Yeah.
been lost, right? So it all goes back to young men. Another point is that pretty much what questions here is that I believe a lot of mistakes politicians make that want to get the young man's vote is that they make policies or it's like I could watch a politician talking about this and that, but it's like, okay, but what are you doing for how are you benefiting the young guy directly, right? So let's say this. All right, you're a young dude. The job economy sucks ass. How about we make it so jobs are coming back to America so you can work a job in this American factory that we're going to build down your house so you don't have to commute back and forth. Okay, that's the job, right? How about the family structure? How about we make it so, I don't know, we can do the Pledge of Allegiance for like when we got kids in school doing it. I remember when I was a kid we did that. We don't do that anymore. And make it so it's easier to start families and a house doesn't seem like I don't know, like a joke, and people are like, oh my God, you want a house? That's so funny because it's so expensive. So you're telling me $100,000 is only enough to get you a shitty house? I mean, I'm just saying that it makes no sense because I've heard people say, well, back in in their day, the 60s, 70s, 50s, before that, a house is like 40 grand. You can be a janitor back then. You can have a family. You can own a house. You can own
Yeah.
a car. But guess what? You can't do any of that these days.
No.
So is it
No,
any wonder why more young men are becoming more conservative? Because like maybe we just go back to how things work because it was working, right?
Well, I want to say so. I want to go back a little bit farther when you were bringing up the issues of your being in algebra.
Oh yeah,
I'm going to
indoctrination.
give you my personal experience.
That was a nightmare. Man.
Because what you described, and the reason I was laughing, I had that same problem as I was in college, and I only did a year and a half. Okay, I was in an algebra class, and this was, I think, in 1979 or 80, and they literally were talking politics against Ronald Reagan at the time. 400 of us are in that class, for this algebra class. And I was up there and I told the teacher, I said, what the hell is this about? This is supposed to be algebra. I do not give a shit about Jimmy Carter. I go, you need to talk to me about algebra. And I looked at, and he proceeded to try to belittle me in there. And I got up and just walked out. I was done. I walked out. I didn't look back. I started my own business and got working, but that has been going on in these colleges for a long time. These
In high school.
communists, these I'm going to say some of the old hippies back in the day got into the colleges with that ideology that started destroying the nuclear family.
Oh my God, you're right.
Telling people that a husband, a man and a woman, you don't need that for a family. You don't need any of this stuff. The strength of any nation is in the family. The
Right.
family unit is the strength of a nation. A father, a wife, and children is the strength. When you destroy that by making all this other nonsense that they're trying to come up with, and then confuse our children at such a young age that there's something other than what that God created them to be, you will have chaos. But we also need to look at what you're describing because it's a bigger picture than what just that. This goes back to the people that want total control of our society. You have a medical profession that can't have healthy people. You have a pharmaceutical industry that can't have healthy people. Otherwise, they go out of business.
They need the money.
So you're sitting here with some of these programs working on the idea of transitioning. Think how much money that costs to transition somebody. And then that person most likely will be on drugs the rest of their life, and most likely their life will end within 5 to 10 years of that time frame because they're so mentally messed up. Okay?
Yeah, the stats don't lie. 60%
Now,
chance. I checked that on it.
This is the stuff, like when you're talking about what's happened to males. Look, and I remember the video days, okay? Well, I was at the kind of the forefront of that, okay? And me and my buddies, we used to drag race down the street to go to the arcade or whatever as we're splitting out of school, you know. But men need activities. We need something that pushes us, that we want to show we can accomplish something. And that's what the video games have done without you having to leave the couch, is to be able to sit there, play a game, and in your mind, you're putting yourself into that video game and you're playing it. We're missing that because in the real world, our society has degraded men. And that is where we need to get back to. When we talk about jobs, if we were to bring back the oil industry in California, you would have some of the highest paying jobs you could get, and you wouldn't have to travel that far. Okay, there is a lot of outside the so-called green energy, which is BS. You cannot power this state on windmills and solar panels. We need power plants, we need nuclear power plants, and we need the men to build them, to run them, to take care of them. Just like what you were saying earlier, we have a lot of women that are in the workforce today because government wanted to make sure that the husband and wife both had to work and that their child would be raised by a government school.
That's
So
fucked
they
up.
could be indoctrinated. These are the programs that we have to work on, but to accomplish that, it's going to take time. I get elected to this office of the 9th Congressional District. I will fight every way I can. I will do everything I can. I will try to stay in total communication with, just like you, talking to you so I get your vantage point of who you are talking to. I have been out to so many people, farms, trucking industries, agriculture, manufacturing, construction, everything that runs our state and our nation. I have a little bit of an understanding to, and I want to take care of the working men and women of all ages and return the values that made our nation great. And the thing is, the state of California, we're going to have to work here also because we need, look at, I ain't going to be around long. I mean, at some point, the Lord will take me home. But you know what? Our posterity is in you, our young people, that we need to bring up so that this nation will keep thriving and going into the future. And the thing is that's important to me because what I have seen, I've seen selfish human beings that are my age and younger who only give a damn about themselves. They look at what they can take or steal or whatever. I've watched nonprofits make millions of dollars while they screw the people they're supposed to help. And you know what? We got to end that. We got to end the government taking our hard-working dollars and using it for their benefit. Government is to serve the people, not the people serve the government. And two, we need to get back to our constitutional responsibility, our oath of office. The Constitution dictates what we as elected people can and can't do. Just because 100 people come to me and say, Jim, you need to pass a law doing this. My question back to them is, where is it in the Constitution that says I can do that? The idea is to protect the citizens' liberty and freedom so you can do your life the way you see, the way you want to run it, and how you want to raise your children, and how you want to take care of your family. And that's where I really am. And, but if you got one other quick question, Jack, I'm getting a little pressure here.
You're okay. Not a problem. In fact, yeah, we can wrap this up. Do you have anything that maybe you have an event coming up soon, or anything you want to promote?
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to be in Tracy in a couple of weeks on Saturday. I think it's the 16th. We got an event that's going to be in Manteca towards the end of the month. We haven't gotten that. But please go to my website, Shoemaker, #4, Congress.com, and go there. You'll get all the updates of everything that we're doing and what's going on. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to attempt to try to learn how to do these little short videos. I am not the tech guy, okay? I got to talk to my daughter. I talk to my son, and I have a great volunteer team that's helping in this campaign. And and like I said, we are the people. I look at. I have worked all my life. My dad passed away when I was 10. I was working on my uncle's farm for 6 years. I ran the harvest from Texas to Canada. I have been almost in every type of thing we could do, and I know how to clean toilets, and I know how to clean the floors, and I know how to build a house. So, you know what? I am not scared to get my hands dirty. I am getting a little bit older, but you know what? It's time for us to train the next generation and help them have a better fighting chance to have a great country like what we were blessed to live in. And thank you, Jack, for everything. Thank you for this. And let's do it again.
Don't mention it. Thank you for coming on. And yeah, we had a great enlightening conversation here. And yeah, I'd love to have you back on sometime when we don't have a conflict of events and everything else going on, and we can maybe be a little more relaxed. But okay, I'll let you go. And I know you got to get.
God bless you.
Okay, and we'll talk again soon.
You bet. Thanks
a lot.
Bye.
Right. Get him off there. All right. Good deal. All right. Once again, that was Jim Shoemaker, candidate for Congress. And
Got my vote.
all right. Well, there'll be a few other people in the race, and hopefully maybe we can get them on also. And, he'll be going up against Josh Harder, who holds a seat now. I don't recall Josh Harder ever debating any of his previous opponents. And what I would like to see is a debate with Jim if he makes it through the primary, and which is a good chance he will. But yeah, I'd like to see an actual debate. In fact, you know what? I don't see any reason why these guys couldn't come on a live stream like this and debate.
They
We send them the link, they jump on. We could even have some independent panelists, to ask questions and stuff. All online on a live stream. The future, it's here, So, hey, Josh, if you're listening to this, or I know some of your people are probably listening to this and clipping the shit out of it, good, okay? Here's a challenge, okay? Debate your opponents, okay? You had an opponent here tonight that made a lot of valid points about a lot of things that are going down in this state, all right? That ain't cool. So, yeah, you need to answer some stuff. You need to step up, be a man, and debate your opponents this time, this election. You're not going to get off light, not if I have anything to say about it, all right? So, yeah, that being said, so, yeah, we put a wrap on this here in a few minutes. A couple of things I did want to go over. we did have another homicide this week. And once again, this is my old block. All right. For the second time this year, it was on Santa Paula Way, on the north side there. And, a guy got shot. So that particular neighborhood is a hellhole. And so I've got 3 so far this year, people that have been murdered in places where I used to live. And, of course, they don't have any motive or, anything like that. They're looking for the guy and so on and so forth. But, unfortunately, another one bit the dust this week. And, it keeps creeping up in places where I used to live. So, that's, a little bit cringe. But beyond that, let me pull this up. Yeah, the homicide investigation, that was Sunday night. So the other thing that was in the news here, it was a man that was found dead in an elevator shaft. Apparently, he was in the middle of a burglary. And
I read about that, and he fucking fell and died or some shit.
Yeah.
He was in the middle, I think. He in the middle of the fence.
Well, I don't know. I mean, he had severe injuries and was pronounced dead at the scene. So I imagine, I don't know how many floors that elevator was, but he could have probably been pretty messed up when he hit bottom there. And again, if you're on a burglary, as with any criminal, if you play stupid games, you might just win stupid prizes, But speaking of stupid, this next one is the one that really got me, and it really saps your brain energy when you try and make sense of this. But anyway, in Lodi Police Department says they received a call reporting that a woman had her head stuck in a donation box with her legs hanging out near the intersection of North Pacific Avenue and West Elm in Lodi. And she was still partially inside the donation.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Fire department responded. Andrea Box responded medical aid. But she was transported to the hospital where she eventually died.
Because she was stuck in a box?
Her head was stuck in the donation box.
Was she donating her head?
Well, that's a good question.
What's donated now?
This ain't something that you hear about or see every day. I'm wondering if the fire department, if they had to use the, the whatchamacallit, the jaws of life, or a sawzall or something, because as donation, I believe they're metal, if they're like the ones I've seen where people put clothes in, I guess, and stuff. Maybe she was looking for a new pair of shoes, didn't have no money, and whatnot. But I don't know. I can just, picture her, hanging there with her feet dangling out. And at first I thought maybe she died there, but apparently they got her out. But, the hospital guys just couldn't do much. So it must have been a pretty traumatic situation, having your head, stuck in there. And, I guess she's lucky that somebody saw it and called the cops, and they got there when they did. Because, hell, you'd be stuck there all night long. She could have expired right there. And, by the time morning comes, the cops show up, and, the dogs have already eaten off her feet, and, that kind of thing. I mean, hey, in all my years, being a road agent for the coroner, I never had to go out and deal with anything like that. So, that was... Yeah, that was a little on the crazy side.
Yeah, it sounds like a donation box fucking ate her.
Yeah, but I mean, who would? Like, I said before, I'm always interested in thought processes. What goes through people's minds.
Crack.
When they do something, and drugs.
A donation box.
Because Well, I mean, yeah, who does that? I mean, there's people like dumpster diving. I understand that, but to literally risk sticking your head in something like that, you didn't stick your hand in first, maybe feel around, or I mean, in all my schooling, which included grade school, a little bit of high school, GED classes, and the first two Ramones albums. I never had any instructor, say, "Oh, hey, it's always a good idea when you're going by a donation box to stick your head in the fucking thing." So, yeah, who knows what was going on with her, but
Not much.
yeah. So, yeah, that's kind of what's been going on here in Stockton this week. On top of, we got some more drama going on in City Hall, which I really don't feel like talking about tonight. However, this may be something that we're going to talk about here pretty soon, upcoming. So, that being said, I want to thank Jim Shoemaker for coming on tonight, running for Congress in District 9 here. Hell of a nice guy, and there's a lot of interesting takes on things. So we wish him luck. And all right, any final words, Scotty? Anything you want to leave us with
Yeah.
from the young man's perspective?
Man, I feel old. The youngish man's perspective. I don't know, paying taxes ages you. I feel like I'm on my third divorce already. Ugh. The IRS is my wife, man, and there's no getting rid of that. What was I thinking? Oh yeah, pay your taxes. Get a good tax accountant. That's it's some good advice. Let's see. I don't know. I have the mic.
Well,
I have one thing.
apparently, Trump administration wants to eliminate taxes for anybody making under 200,000. And
I think if you're living paycheck to paycheck, you should not be taxed out the ass. I think if you make enough money to own a fucking yacht and super island like Epstein, whatever the fuck his name was, you can afford getting taxed.
Yeah.
That's a good idea, actually. So that's what I want to talk about. Is that if anyone in, I don't know, someone who has any, what the fuck I was thinking, if you ever happen to find yourself in a position of power, I would recommend you, if you're ever governing people, is to this is my favorite quote, Sun Tzu. I keep fucking reading The Art of War.
Mm-hmm.
Treat your soldiers as if they're on your treat your soldiers as if they were your own beloved sons, and they will follow you into the deepest valley. That is my favorite quote ever, and most. The reason why is because I feel like if you're trying to be a politician, if you're trying to be anyone in any place of power, and you're trying to be true to yourself without being corrupted or being a snake, or politics can get fucking cutthroat. But what if you just want to make a difference? So maybe your hometown city doesn't fucking suck so much, and you do become the mayor hypothetically, or maybe you're a police chief or whatever. The point is that you should treat the people under you like your family, pretty much, especially if it's in roles where the shit you do matters a lot. I think about this, like city council, police, fire chiefs, all that stuff. If you have anything remotely to do with Stockton that has an impact, I feel like Stockton could be it could be a better city, pretty much, if people felt like, you know what, I'm going to contribute, instead of fuck Stockton, I'm just going to work my 9 to 5 and go home and smoke my joint because no, there's no culture, everybody hates everybody, because I kind of feel like it's that's the vibe, the aura. I'm just thinking, what the fuck happened in communities and villages and shit like that, where you got people all grouped up, have the same common goal of hey, we all live in the same area, how can we make this better for everybody to live, So let's see. I don't know. Well, we don't want any crime. Crime's bad, so why does crime happen? Well, one of the reasons I'd recommend the fixing is because the job market here fucking sucks ass. So how can we make jobs better? Take advantage of all the empty buildings. Find some rich startup who's all right, I'm not Elon Musk level known yet, so I'm going to go and be a startup in Stockton. I mean, we only have got over 80 abandoned buildings downtown that, could probably use a renovation that people own that are not really paying their taxes on. It's kind of it's abandoned and stuff. And my issue with Stockton feels like an abandoned city. I don't feel the same vibe when I go to Sacramento, when I go to Lodi, when I go to Manteca, when I go to anywhere else. I feel like the people here got stuff going on, but it's in Stockton, it feels like we're isolated.
Yeah, I didn't get that same vibe either when I was just up in Portland. my favorite place to go when I want to get out of here. But yeah, and and of course that's a bigger city. But everywhere we went, and I covered a lot of ground this last time, especially in the downtown areas and stuff. And everywhere you go, there's shops, there's coffee shops, bagel shops, bookstores, record music stores, clothing stores, you name it.
There's more than just
Businesses,
smoke shops.
street to street to street. Right. In fact, I actually hunt for one. So like there's more going on.
It's the culture. Kind of proves my entire point.
There's more going on, and
It's because the people give a shit. I wonder why.
they care about their city. Maybe the city maybe has more. I mean, there was an event down by the waterside. When I was there, and people hanging out on the grass. Enjoying things. They had music. They had rides for kids.
I don't see that in Stockton. Everyone's afraid to get shot.
you know, yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame. Same nonsense is going back, where I grew up, Jersey Shore, the Seaside Heights, places like that. They're having to enforce curfews on the boardwalk and, cut hours back. Why? Because all the gangbangers from up North Jersey go down there and, they start their shit. People have been stabbed and, and whatnot, and that kind of shit ain't cool, and so yeah, that's always a damper on it too. But if I would love to see Stockton be, even a fraction of what like Portland is like. Like I said, I go up there and always stuff to do. There's a shop there that rents bikes. You want a mountain bike, you want an electric bike, you want a racer. They'll rent it to you for a couple hours, for half a day, and you can just zip around, do your thing. And like I said, every block you go on, there's all these different businesses, all these different things to do, And so there's vibrant cities, and then you got our town that we could do a lot better.
Yeah, that sounds like a dream, man. I'm thinking of Miracle Mile, because that's like probably my favorite place in Stockton, because it's just a straight fucking street. On left and right of you is business, cool shit to do, ice cream shop, comics, fucking karate, yoga, whatever the fuck, gun shop. It's like whatever you want to do, look to left, look to the right, just walk down. It's like it's like the Las Vegas Strip, I guess you could say, where you can just walk straight down and you'll find something to do. But a lot of those places are fucking abandoned too, even Miracle Mile.
Well, another thing that I like to see them do, and they do this in Pleasanton, they do this in Martinez. I know for a fact. It'll be like one night. I believe Martinez, they do it in the evening, and Pleasanton, it's like Sunday morning, brunch time, and they close the street off. They close off the main street, and they have outdoor dining at the restaurants, and people, come and go. They congregate, hang out, and it's great for the businesses there. It's great for the people. They can come, if you got a family, bring the kids, And so close off the Miracle Mile one night a week or a Sunday morning and open up those restaurants for outdoor dining. I guarantee you're going to see some traffic.
You'll make some money.
And exactly. And I don't see why they can't do that. So
that's a good idea. I'm thinking New Orleans has shit like Mardi Gras and everyone's having fun. So why not Stockton have something that's like something fucking new that only we in Stockton do? You know what I mean? Because what's it called? I think when I was in high school or fucking like younger than that, it's like what's it called? Ride-alongs, where people are a bunch of kids on bikes and shit and all ride around Stockton. I'm thinking, hey, that's pretty fucking cool. And I'm thinking, wait a second, ain't there like a racetrack and where am I thinking? there's a racetrack right in Stockton that people can go to race motorbikes and shit. And so I'm thinking, what if there was something like that? But it's like you don't need money to have fun. I feel like everything's about, oh, you need cash to do this and do that. How about we just make a fucking like recreational park for anybody to go to? You ain't got money, that's fine. Because the whole purpose of this fucking place is so somebody can come back and hang out and have fun. If your citizens have more shit to do once they clock off work instead of just going home and going to bed, then I'd say you got a thriving city. And the reason I say thriving is because it's daytime, everyone's at work. Nighttime, fucking nightlife, vibrant lights and shit. Everyone's got going places, out to dinner, fucking hockey, late night bike rides. The point is that Stockton, being a smaller city, has the advantage of, well, that's just it, being smaller. So it's much easier to maintain this versus somewhere that's a lot fucking bigger like Sacramento. So my recommendation would be it all starts with the culture, especially the youth, is that like that guy was saying, is that one day he ain't going to be here, right? So it's, she reminds me of another quote. A society grows great when old men plant trees in the shade that they know they'll never sit. What that quote means is like, you're an old dude in positions of power, you're doing all this shit, so it's like, hey, I'm gonna open up a park and have a bunch of fucking trees planted, so it's like all the people that come after me can enjoy this. It's like fucking 100 years later, people are still picking those fruits, and the guy's like, I know I'm not gonna live to see this, but that's fine because I'm doing this for everybody that comes after me. Now that's not greed, that's selflessness, right? Because you're doing this for everyone. So and I think that's how it should be, because it's like you ain't taking that money with you when you're dead, right? So it's like, why not put it back into the community, right? You have family here, you've shopped here, you've been here for a large majority of your time. Now, sure, it's easy to pocket money and be a corrupt motherfucker, but what if we just decide to reinvest it into our city? I'm thinking more of like a tribe, I guess. Tribe comes to mind because Stockton's geography, if you notice, it's kind of cut off. So it's like Lodi's near, how to put this? On the map, we have a fucking isolated city pretty much, and you have to drive, right? You're not going to walk all the way to Lodi or the nearest, so you have to do that. So we're kind of cut off, and that gives us advantage because we can make this our own, right? So Lodi has their own shit. How about Stockton have its own? So people are like, oh my God, Stockton's a nice city. It's a lot better than Lodi. Now it sounds crazy to say out loud, but what if that can be a reality? Because Stockton can be so much more than it is now, and I feel like you only need, not faith. I wouldn't use that word. I just put belief into the right person that you elect to make these changes happen. And that's pretty much what I'd say. Not faith, because faith is just hoping that shit's gonna, like, oh, it's just gonna happen, like praying for it. Like, no, you have to have people who come together and decide that, you know what, we're gonna decide Stockton's not gonna be a shithole anymore. We're gonna make this fucking better than LA. So it's like, hey, here in California, they start thinking of Stockton instead of anywhere else.
Right.
Just think about what it could be instead of what it is now, because one day we're not going to be. We all dream, but I'm sure you've all dreamt at least once of how much better our lives could be in this town.
Yeah.
Instead of paycheck to paycheck, what if it's just like life to life? You know, it's just a regular life instead of survival. Live instead of survive. What do you think, Jack?
Well, what I know is this: is that you said Stockton may be a smaller city. I don't feel it's really too small anymore. Maybe at one time it was, but we're over 300,000 now, growing, and generally populations grow, right? So we're going to grow more, all right, and which means we're going to need more housing, more schools, recreation, and things to do, okay. And so, this place is going to keep on growing. People are going to keep having kids. I mean, that's just the way things are. And so,
But did they connect with their neighbor?
Where are we going to be down the road 10 years from now, 20 years from now? If we're behind the eight ball on a lot of, as you say, culture-based things now, then we really need to double down on the effort, because when you've been other places, you've seen other cities, and you see what's going on, and then you come here and you see like the empty buildings and the vacant streets and everything else. We got some turning around to do. So again, we're not really a small town anymore, and we're going to be growing. So
We could use that to our advantage. Like you said, the more people that come here, is not more reason that we should have them assimilate into a culture that's already inclusive instead of everyone having the "fuck you, I'm gonna do me" attitude. We change that attitude more towards team oriented. So if we're not a small city anymore, okay, how about, well, we're not Sacramento level yet, but it's like as we get bigger, how about we make it to adding that towards like that's a benefit towards us, right? The more people you have that want to make your city not be a shithole sounds good to me, right? But that's assuming there's already a culture that wants to preserve your city to begin with. If people just keep coming to live here and don't give a shit about the city surviving, then are we really going to have a city in 20 years? Or is this just going to be a desert ghost town? Everyone has to leave because we can't survive in Stockton because the infrastructure's fucked. It's just something to think about, man.
yeah. When hopefully we don't go that direction, and so alrighty. Well, we've been at it about an hour. I think it's time to say goodbye for you folks out there. We were here every Thursday, and hit the like button on the way out. And you can pulling up a banner here. Banners ain't working. Let's go here. All right, there's that one. Pull up here. Okay. If you want to drop us a line, okay, there's an email right there, jmanjack209@gmail. Let us know what you think of the program. If you get any ideas of people that you want to see on here, let us know. We'll try and get them on here as guests. And yeah. Oh yeah. By the way, if you've had any problems here in the city, maybe you've been mistreated, somebody's done you wrong, you've reached out and nobody's responding, whatever, drop me a line. I want to know your story. Maybe we can do something to help you out. Okay. So that being said, thanks again to Jim Shoemaker for coming on tonight. And for me and Scotty, we'll bid you adieu. And we shall see you again next week.
Hit the like button.